Hey, we're doing stand-up shows October 20th through the 23rd in Florida and Buffalo. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for tickets. So you know there's a vaccine mandate, right? So there's the Biden employer vaccine mandate could be finalized as early as next week. So the government is ordering private companies what to do with their own employees, right? So the government, I mean, I always thought that people used to say, oh, you can't, Facebook and Twitter get to censor because they're private companies. Okay, well, now the government's, anyway, so this is a mandate, right? Well, there's a paper out now, a study from Harvard. So there it is. It says increases in COVID-19 are unrelated to levels of vaccination across 68 countries and 2,947 counties in the United States. And there's the people who did the study, and it's printed in the European Journal of Epidemiology. It's also, so there's from the Harvard Center of Population and Development Studies, Cambridge, Massachusetts, the Department of Social and Behavioral Sciences, Harvard, Chan School of Public Health, Boston, and then the Turner Fenton Secondary School, Brampton, Ontario, Canada. So it's also, this article's also been printed at the NIH.gov. There it is, okay? And that is the United States National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health, okay? So this is something that the guys at The Intercept would look at and think it was crazy. They don't understand science. It's okay. So what does this study say? What did they find out? At the country level, there appears to be no discernible relationship between percentage of population fully vaccinated and new COVID-19 cases. What? Huh? In fact, hold on to your hats. In fact, the trend line suggests that countries with higher percentage of population fully vaccinated have higher COVID-19 cases per 1 million people. Uh-oh. Notably, Israel, with over 60% of their population fully vaccinated, had the highest COVID-19 cases per 1 million people in the last 7 days. The lack of meaningful association between percentage population fully vaccinated and new COVID-19 cases is further exemplified, for instance, by comparison of Iceland and Portugal. Both countries have over 75% of their population fully vaccinated and have more COVID-19 cases per 1 million people than countries such as Vietnam and South Africa that have around 10% of their population fully vaccinated. Across the U.S. counties, too, there also appears to be no significant signaling of COVID-19 cases decreasing with higher percentages of population fully vaccinated. What the F? I was told this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Of the top 5 counties that have the highest percentage of population fully vaccinated, 99.9 to 84.3%, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, identifies 4 of them as high transmission counties. So counties that have that rate of vaccination are considered by the CDC counties that have high transmissions. Chattahoochee, Georgia, McKinley, New Mexico, and Arecibo, Puerto Rico counties have above 90% of their population fully vaccinated, with all 3 being classified as high transmission. Huh? Conversely, of the 57 counties that have been classified as low transmission counties by the CDC, 26.3% have percentage of population fully vaccinated below 20%. So I'm not a math surgeon, and there's a lot of numbers here, but of the 57 counties that have been classified as low transmission, you would think those would be the counties that have the highest vaccination rates. But it turns out 26% of the low transmission counties have people less than 20% of their population fully vaccinated. So these are interesting numbers. The sole reliance on vaccination as a primary strategy to mitigate COVID-19 and its adverse consequences needs to be re-examined. Whoa. Again, this is printed in the European Journal of Epidemiology. It's also reprinted in the NIH.gov. The sole reliance on vaccination as a primary strategy to mitigate COVID-19 and its adverse consequences needs to be re-examined, especially considering the Delta variant and the likelihood of future variants. Other pharmacological and non-pharmacological interventions need to be put in place alongside increasing vaccination rates. Such course correction becomes paramount with emerging scientific evidence on real-world effectiveness of the vaccines. Emerging scientific evidence. I would bet it's a pretty safe bet that the government of the United States is not going to follow the science. And because they haven't been, the government, they do it when they feel like it, when it fits their political agenda, right? Because here's Joe Biden being asked about mandates for he's asked about mandates for vaccines, and he says no, can't do it.
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power. Just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide.
No. Wouldn't demand it. Here's Nancy Pelosi.
So here's the thing. We cannot require someone to be vaccinated. That's just not what we can do. It is a matter of privacy to know who is or who isn't.
And do you foresee that the vaccine might be mandated for any populations, perhaps for school-age children?
No, I don't think you'll ever see a mandating of vaccine, particularly for the general public. Sometimes in the health sector, like in my hospital here at NIH, you're not going to be allowed to go on the ward unless you get a flu vaccine. But you would never mandate, at least I do not think you would. I'd be pretty surprised if you mandated it for any element of the general public.
Now, as a primary care physician myself, who's had many conversations around vaccine safety with patients, I'm curious, what's our contingency plan for people who might refuse the vaccine?
Well, I mean, they have every right to refuse vaccine. I don't think you need a contingency plan. If someone...
Well, what he should have said, because what they're actually doing is, well, we're going to fire them and take away their means of financial support and render them second-class citizens, restrict their travel and not let them go anywhere or do anything or participate in society. Could you imagine if he would have said that in August 2020? Because that's what they're doing.
Refuses the vaccine in the general public, then there's nothing you can do about that. You cannot force someone.
Oh, it turns out you can take away their means of financial support, render them bankrupt, homeless, and not able to participate in society or travel freely. You can do that. That's what you're actually doing. So 180-degree turn from all of them on vaccine mandates. And now a new study from Harvard that you can find at the NIH.gov is saying this. Other pharmacological and non-pharmacological interventions need to be put in place alongside increasing vaccination rates. Such course correction becomes paramount with emerging scientific evidence on real-world effectiveness of the vaccines. The sole reliance on vaccination as a primary strategy to mitigate COVID-19 and its adverse consequences needs to be re-examined. So That's been their only course of act. It's, hey, you got to do vaccines, and that's it. That's all they've been pushing. Now, we had Dr. Robert Malone on here to talk about a better way to administer the vaccines, that you vaccinate the people who are most vulnerable. Then the virus becomes endemic. It becomes more contagious but less deadly. That's not the way we're going about it. The way we're going about it is vaccinating everyone, even children. And this needs to be re-examined. This is from Harvard at nih.gov. Needs to be re-examined. Again, that's not me saying that. That's the conclusion of a study published at nih.gov. That is quite stunning. That I don't know, again, how you can be behind mandates and have this information. How could you be behind mandates and have, right now the NIH has ordered a study on the effect of the vaccines on women's menstrual cycles. Apparently, we don't know the effect. They've just, in Canada, they've stopped using the Moderna for males 24 and under. Can you see if there's other European countries that have stopped using Moderna for males? I'm sure there are. We're finding out stuff every day now about the vaccines. Now, as you know, I'm double vax, baby. And I'm a data point in a study on people who present as long haulers, COVID long haulers, and I never had COVID.
As of October 8th, I see on this one, Finland and Sweden are limiting use of Moderna COVID-19 vaccine in young people over concerns about rare cardiovascular side effects. So that's the first article that came up. FYI. Jim Jam.
Okay.
Finland joined Sweden and Denmark in limiting, and that's 6 days ago.
Sweden joins Finland and who else?
Denmark in limiting the Moderna. Let me see anything else.
Finland, Denmark, and they're limiting the Moderna.
Mm-hmm. Denmark, Sweden, Finland.
There you go. And as we reported in our other video, Canada also is recommending males under 24 get the Pfizer and not the Moderna. So these mandates are, again, they go against everything those people said last year. Everything Joe Biden said, Nancy Pelosi said, Fauci said too. Now they're 180 degrees contradicting themselves, and no one will ever bring it up to them. No one will ever show this video that I have to Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden or Fauci on CNN. Fauci's already been asked, hey, why are you mandating that people get a vaccine if they've already had COVID and they have better immunity from their natural immunity from having COVID? He says, I don't have a very strong answer for you. No, he doesn't. We're doing stand-up comedy in Florida, in West Palm Beach and Dania, and then we're going to Buffalo, Baltimore, Tempe, and Portland. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all our tickets.